The story of regime change in Venezuela is big enough on its own, but it feels wild to take in the news and then right alongside of it, all of these memes about Nicolás Maduro. The memes are not just reactions to the news, by the way. Some of those memes are actually being used by the Trump administration to sell its narrative. So, how does this feedback loop of news and memes shape our response to what's happening in Venezuela right now? I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Mike Isaac is up bright and early. He's back with us on the show. Mike, it's good to see you, pal. How's it going?
Hey, I'm awake and Happy New Year.
Hey, done to you as well. Listen, you're the person that we turn to when the things that happen in real life feel wilder than anything you possibly imagine. And I think like that's
Mhm.
kind of what's going on right now. What do you think? What makes this story such a fertile ground for memes? You think?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where it's a giant moment in not even just American history, global history.
Yeah.
It's literal regime change. It's the United States invading another country to go in and capture the leader of that country. And so I think back to, I'm not sure how old you were at this moment, but when American troops killed Osama bin Laden
Yeah.
and the story broke online with a handful of reporters sort of tweeting it. And back then, it was just text, right? It was like, oh, someone's posting on Twitter, is this real? Twitter is this nascent thing. And it took a while to sort of validate it. And now it's just completely instant. And you can not only break news on what is now called X, but remix it, make fun of it, and sort of make it this theater of the absurd
Hmm.
that goes into surrealism very quickly. So to your point, it's not just craziness; it's the administration, the American administration under Trump, embracing this and using it to kind of further their own thing, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, like to even further the feedback loop, one of the images that sort of like broke pretty early on is a bunch of people who are basically like a makeshift situation room where they're observing the
Yes.
situation. And then behind them, there's a monitor, and on that monitor, there's just an image of X of Twitter with like
Mm.
the search for Venezuela. So they were monitoring the reaction in real time to how people were tweeting about the story, which felt
Yes.
like very meta to me as I was kind of like just observing this thing. But let's get into the revelation from your colleagues at the New York Times who reported that
Mm.
U.S. President Donald Trump was really angry about all these memes of Nicolás Maduro, now deposed Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro,
Yeah.
dancing a few weeks ago. Let's play this.
Don't worry, be happy. Beats and low.
Yeesh. Why do these memes have so much power? So much so that it makes Trump angry.
So I have been thinking about this for a while. I think this is probably one of the most online American administrations in history, and not just because it's. I mean, to be fair, we are all like the most online that we've ever been. We have phones in
Yeah.
our pockets all the time. We break. We bought. I bought a device to break my scrolling addiction. So all of us are kind of like online, and every administration has had to sort of figure out how to reckon with talking to their audience.
Yeah.
That said, all of the people in this administration are scrolling constantly and take that sort of instant feedback into their own messaging. They have they're playing ACDC while showing like missiles on the DHS Twitter account or whatever. So I think what I was thinking about this segment too, and there's this tweet from this comedian named Connor O'Malley, who's the perfect encapsulation of the internet today.
Yeah.
And it says, I'm 62 years old. I live in Tampa. I eat corn and beef every day. I always have a Titleist hat on, and Iran is the biggest threat to my freedom, which is this absurdist tweet that's sort of summarizing the problem the Trump administration has in selling it to their base. Why are we doing this? And that's where the memes come in, basically.
I will say that like I opened X this morning and that was the first tweet that I saw, just like at the top of
It's
my
so good.
timeline. So it's very funny that you ended up
And
bringing
it's
that
like
up.
8 years old too, but it's perfect.
But I mean, let's talk about this like within this administration specifically. Like, how much is their decision? Because we talk about this idea that you mentioned that how online they are. How
Yeah.
much does that factor into their decision making? You think how much of their decision making is powered by the memes that they're seeing, or like the
Yeah.
memeable moments that they think they can create?
No, so I have a suspicion, and not, this is reported by my colleagues over here, that not only does this administration really get influenced by what they're seeing online, being constantly online, but I think it flows over into the business world. I think the sort of like power brokers of the world are pretty online these days. They're scrolling Twitter. They
Yeah.
care what people think about them, despite being the most powerful people in the world, it can bother them when they're getting made fun of online, or in Trump's case, have, Nicolás Maduro dancing and saying, "Don't worry, be happy," and that's worrisome. That's something where I'm like, shouldn't you be considering like real major policy decisions outside of the context of a tweet floating around?
And in
But
fact, like
it's
that would be not helpful to your decision making to have
100%.
literally everyone in the world saying, "I have all these thoughts about your decision making," just as you're actually making the decision itself. I should say,
log off.
yeah, like just for like a day or two while you're making a significant decision.
That's right.
I should say that like one of the odd, I should say, powers of these memes has been that we've had this photo, right? And the photo is of Nicolás Maduro after he's been captured. He's wearing this Nike tracksuit. He's got headphones on. He's got blindfolded. He's cuffed. And I've seen so many iterations of that photo sort of turn into a meme. Just this morning, a friend sent me this meme, and it's Emily Blunt's character in The Devil Wears Prada going, "Are you wearing the?" And then it cuts to the Anne Hathaway character in The Devil Wears Prada, and she's also in that tracksuit, and it's like the Nicolás Maduro tracksuit. Yes, I am. What does this tell you? Like the idea that people look at that photo and go, "Oh, I want to get in on this. Let me also buy that tracksuit." What's happening, Mike? Why are we here?
That's such a trip where it's like, major global events as like streetwear hype beast drop sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like tomorrow it'll be a Supreme t-shirt that you can only buy and resell online or something. And I mean, my read on a lot of this stuff is like, it is surreal to kind of watch these major global history moments in real time, right? Like, again, think even 10, 20 years ago, or, 30 or more, like the dawn of some major stuff is when global TV outlets, CNN, that was a big deal at the time, getting a sort of live stream of news from the ground there on video channels that ran 24/7. So I think just each moment we're inching closer to being as least removed as possible to what's happening right now. And being so close to that can make people feel enmeshed and kind of riff on it and want to participate. And this is a kind of weird participation, and then showing that off to your friends and joking about it, because sometimes humor is the only way we can make sense of the world, even if it's completely absurd, or buying a tracksuit.
Okay, the thing that you're saying is actually more generous than where I stand, because because you're sort of interpreting it as a sort of like, how do we process this thing together, and this is one of the ways of processing it together. But I guess like where I am is I'm having a hard time with the idea that some things are not there for you to riff on,
For sure.
And I think like that's where I get tripped up on this, is I see the flood of memes and I go, I understand that this is a story and everyone seems like they want to react to the same thing. But doesn't that make you kind of feel like we begin to lose track of what's an occasion for us to riff on and what's an occasion for us to go, oh, this is not for riffing. This is, you're watching, as you mentioned earlier, literal regime change in front of your eyes, maybe for the first time in a lot of young people's history. And you kind of lose sense of proportion, right, of the significance of the story, and it kind of the memes end up removing you from reality in a sense. No?
No, I totally agree. And I think the reason that might not be the instinct that people have, at least not everyone has this time, is just look back a few months ago to the Charlie Kirk killing on live video or whatever. And that started getting remixed very quickly and sort of made absurd. And then there was an instant sort of reaction from his supporters, or people, or even not his supporters, but people who were like, hey, you're joking about a murder on live video. And I do think there's a spectrum of ways that people, quote unquote, process it, but then also react and say, hey, this is too much. And I agree with you. Like there's moments where folks are like, this is too much. And then there's moments where like, okay, how do I reckon with this? This is a huge moment. It's almost too much. Is this like globally destabilizing? Then I'm going to joke about it, because what else do I do? I'm going to sit in my anxiety at home and like freak out,
That's
I'm not
true.
saying it's right, but I feel like that's like a way that maybe young people who feel so unstable can kind of reckon with some of these things.
I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of the idea that like this is a way to sort of like process your own powerlessness. You know, like the only way you can grip your mind around a story is go, well, I can't do much, but I can offer this one joke that has to do with the image that everybody's sharing, and then that makes you feel maybe like you're living the same planet as everybody else. I should also say, like, you were with us almost 3 years ago. It's wild to think that this was almost 3 years ago, to talk about the submersible story. That story generated
Oh my
a lot of
gosh,
memes.
yeah.
But a lot has changed since then, just in terms of how people riff. And one of the changes has been there are now AI-generated videos that are becoming memes, like this one.
Hola amigos, yo soy su nuevo presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trumpo.
Okay, so social media has kind of given us a long, again, history of how to process the news, but this feels a little bit different to me. Do you think there is a point where the internet sort of makes us feel like we're losing touch with our own humanity? Like, are we there yet, or am I being overly dramatic on public radio? What's it's a big spectrum, you know?
No, I mean, look, it just goes back to like, okay, if we're seeing sort of like these moments of someone being killed or someone making an inflammatory statement or using AI to sort of fabricate something whole cloth that's very material to how we operate, you know, that worries me. And I think the thing that I've said for a very long time, or at least a long time in internet years, is that I don't think AI has to be perfect to be disruptive and even dangerous. I think it just has to be good enough to fool like someone who's scrolling casually through Facebook or Twitter and kind of sees something and absorbs it in like a latent way without really thinking about it. Like, sure, I could see he has 7 fingers on his hand if I look for more than 3 seconds, but what posts are you looking at for more than 3 seconds, you know? And that, I agree with you, slowly chips away at a shared sense of reality. And that is worrisome.
Do we have an antidote to this, or are we nowhere close to that?
Do I have to end on an upbeat note?
You don't have to. You can say, nope, we continue the downward slide. Like, that is totally an okay place to leave it.
Look, no, I'm not going to be, you know, cynical, nothing matters person. I do think that because of how fast technology is developing, I think there are a lot of people who are concerned about it and are trying to work on products or tech that could counter some of this stuff. So not all is lost. I just hope that those people feel more empowered as things sort of develop.
Well, by pure accident, Mike, I happen to own the tracksuit that Nicolás Maduro is captured in, and I really did not. And not only that, but I'm like, should I be donating this tracksuit? Because I just do not want even remotely the accusation that I'm participating in any of this riffing. But in the meantime, I appreciate
putting it on Depop tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and you know what? It's probably going to fetch a pretty penny. I'm not going to lie to you. I appreciate your time, man. You're the best. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much, Elamin.
Thank you. Mike Isaac is a technology reporter. He covers Silicon Valley for the New York Times. He's in Oakland, California. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We'll be back tomorrow, so if you're around, I would love to see you then. Have a great day.